Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to show quite a deep deck that would be really good and is really good for psychological work. That is the Haindl Tarot by Hermann Haindl. And this deck was published by U.S.Games, first of all in 1990, and this is the second version of the deck that was published in 2011, and I actually prefer this second version because I prefer the cardstock of this version, and also the first version of 1990 the images were a bit more faded and a bit more muted. So I think this version from 2011 is a better version. So here is the box, and the little white book is written by Rachel Pollack, and this of course is a very good little white book because it was written by Rachel Pollack, and this is the original 1990 little white book. It wasn't rewritten for the 2011 version, but that doesn't matter because it's a really good little white book because the meanings are very good, and there is a very interesting spread at the back of the book as well called the Handbook spread, which is named after the rune. So the little white book is really worth reading and using. So I'm going to show the particular cards that I really like from the deck, and then I'm going to talk about some guidebooks that were also written for the deck by Rachel Pollack. So first of all, I'm going to show some cards from the deck. Here is the back of the card. So this is one of the few things about this deck that I do not like. The back of the card was not changed in the second version at all. This is the original card back. So I do wish that had have been changed. I'm not keen on the back of the card. But fortunately the front of the cards make up for that. The cardstock is very good, as I was saying. The cardstock is better in the second version, and I think the images come up a lot better as well. So I'm going to start by showing the major arcana cards. So here is the Fool. So the cards are numbered and named. There is also a symbol for the Golden Dawn associations with the planets and the astrology signs. This is actually an alternative version of the planet Uranus symbol. It's not seen very often. It's used quite a bit in Europe. So here is the planet Uranus for the Fool, and there is also the Hebrew letter from the Golden Dawn associations on the major arcana cards. And you may not be able to see it, but there is also a rune symbol for each of the major arcana cards as well. So that is really helpful for people. The idea of putting the runes on here for the major arcana cards, I find that some of them match up quite well and others I don't quite follow. So for people who are interested in the runes, they may like this correspondence for the major arcana cards. So here is the Fool. Here is the Empress. It's quite an interesting Empress card. Even though this card is associated with the planet Venus, there is a crescent moon here. So on all of these cards, you've still got the Hebrew letter at the top of each one and the rune symbol. And there is a planet Venus here in gold lettering, gold colouring, so you probably can't see that planet Venus here, but it is there. So this is the Empress card. I really love this Emperor card. There aren't many Emperor cards that I like, but I really like this card. This card is associated with the sign of Aries. So this card, the image here really connects it to humanity, to mankind or humankind, but particularly mankind. So I really like this Emperor image. It's very nature based. It's sort of connecting it with the nature impulse. So I really, really like this image for the Emperor. Here's the Lovers. The border on these cards has got it's like a light grey border, but it blends in quite well. So this is a really interesting Lovers card. We have the sign of Gemini here. This deck is really deep and great for psychological work, and I think it is a really good deck for the kind of times that we are living in now. I find that lately I am being far more drawn to the deeper type of decks, and these are the type of decks that I am going to be working with this year. So here is the Lovers card. Strength. Wheel of Fortune. There's quite a lot of symbolism, a lot of symbols on these cards. So when this deck was created in 1990, it really was ahead of its time. Here is the Hanged Man, and I love the rainbow background, and I hope you can see the Hanged Man image in here. It's the kind of deck that really pulls you in. Great Death card. And when this was created in 1990, it was quite different to any other deck, really, that had been created beforehand. It really was ahead of its time. It's a great Death card. So these are Roman numerals at the top of the card, but they are named. And I love this. Instead of Temperance, this card is called Alchemy, which I actually prefer this title for the card, for number 14. The card that's normally Temperance, I prefer Alchemy. And Crowley, of course, called his card Art, but he meant the art of alchemy. So here is Alchemy. And it's showing red and blue colours here because it's the intermingling of fire and water. So this is quite a beautiful card. Here is the Devil. So you can see a goat, the goat and the serpent here. So these cards are very thought-provoking. Beautiful star card. You can see the sign of Aquarius here. It's a really beautiful star card. And the Sun. It's probably my favourite card in the whole deck. It's just so beautiful with the rose and the sun. Really beautiful card. And the Eon, or it's just called Eon, which is the renamed Judgment card of the Crowley Tarot. So I really like also this choice of name for this card, the Eon, or Eon. And I hope you can see there is an embryo of new life here, right in the middle of the card, or fetus. So this is a great card. Number 20, which is Eon. Which is pretty much connecting to the new era that we are entering now. We are transitioning. We are right in the middle of the start of a new eon. So, they are the Major Arcana cards. Now I'm going to show some of the Minor Arcana cards. These are the usual wands, cups, swords and coins. Excuse me, stones. I will get to that. Everything is the same except stones instead of pentacles. So Ace of Wands. And these are plain pips, but they're not entirely plain pips. They're kind of partially scenic. This is Ace of Wands. And Hermann Haindl has associated directions with these suits. So the wands are associated with the east direction, but you don't have to follow that if you don't want to. So this is Ace of Wands. Two of Wands, and there is a key word, Dominion. So some of these some of these minor numbered cards have the same titles as the Crowley Thoth deck, and the Golden Dawn, the names for the cards were taken from Book T, which was written by Samuel Mathers. So a lot of people think Crowley created these titles for these cards, but they are based on the Golden Dawn curriculum, Book T, that was written by Samuel Mathers originally. So this is 2 of Wands, and they look a bit like arrows, but he's calling them wands. 2 of Wands, Dominion, and you can probably see a trigram of the Yi Jing. The Yi Jing symbols are here. Now, I'm usually not a fan of corresponding the Yi Jing with the tarot, but with this deck it seems to blend reasonably well. I tend to ignore the Yi Jing symbols with these cards, but it's your choice what you want to do with that. So this is 2 of Wands, Dominion, and the Daughter of Wands is Radha. So what is also different about this deck, there is mother, father, daughter and son. Usually it would go father, mother, son and daughter. But with this deck, the mother card comes before the father card. So this is Radha, and each of the suits are associated with a different culture. So this is the Indian culture for wands. Radha. Radha is the Daughter of Wands. So there's a lot to think about with this deck. There's not too much going on, but it's just enough to give you more to think about. Ace of Cups, and this one is Ace of Cups associated with the north direction, and this is the Celtic culture. Ace of Cups, 2 of Cups is love. There's a dove here in the background, the 2 of Cups. And I love this card, Daughter of Cups. And the daughter is actually the princess. So where with the Thoth deck you have the Knight, Queen, Prince and Princess. So this is the same as the Princess. And it actually says Princess of Cups here too. So that you've got Daughter of Cups and then you've got Princess of Cups, so that you can recognise what's going on. This is Bridget of Ireland. It's a beautiful card. Really quite beautiful. Now for swords. Swords with this deck are associated with the south direction. So this is swords. This one is associated with the Egyptian culture. 3 of Swords is mourning. and there's a teardrop here. Three of Swords. So this might be a good deck for people who have not had plain pip or non-scenic pip deck before. It might actually help you to start working with this type of deck. Father of Swords. Now this is the King of Swords. Father of Swords. And this is Ra from the Egyptian culture. So the Father of Swords is the King of Swords. Now for stones, which are usually coins or pentacles. So this is Ace of Stones in the West. Four of Stones, and this one is called the Power of the Earth. Sometimes these titles are not the same as the Crowley Toth. In this case, for example, this is a different title. But I like this. I like the Power of the Earth for the Four of Stones. And this is associated with the American Indian First Nation culture. So the Mother of Stones, which is the Queen of Stones, is Spider Woman. I really like this card. So there's some of the cards that I particularly like from the Haindl Tarot. Now I'm going to talk about some of the guidebooks that have been written. Now these can be or really have to be bought separately. I'm going to tell you a little bit of the background about the guidebooks. They are all written by Rachel Pollack. They are all still available, but I will talk about the format of these guidebooks and what form these come in. I have the two original guidebooks that were written in 1990. Now, the way that this was first done, these are the original books. They were Volume 1 and Volume 2 because they were divided into the Major Arcana, as you can see here. Major Arcana is Volume 1. And Volume 2 is the Minor Arcana, which also includes the court cards. Now these are wonderful books. Usually anything written by Rachel Pollack is definitely worth reading. These are in-depth looks at each card. So, you know, if you want to understand the images, the symbols on the images, within the images, and the relationship to the Hebrew letters, which are the Golden Dawn associations. And if you're also wondering about the runes that are associated with these cards, and of course the Hebrew letter and the planets and astrology signs are all Golden Dawn, but the rune symbols are a different edition. This book is worth getting. You can still get this second hand. I'll talk a little bit more about this after I show these 3 books. This is volume 1 for the Major Arcana. And this book also talks about meditating with the cards as well. And there are some spreads in here as well, so it's worth getting. This is volume 2 with the Minor Arcana. This was also written in 1990. So it's got the 2 of Cups on the cover. Rachel Pollack, and definitely worth getting. You would be able to get this second hand. This has got meditation, same kind of format. It's got meditation and spreads in here at the back of the book, but it goes through in depth each of the cards, and it's also got a chart here about all of the Minor Arcana cards and the associated titles for the cards. And it also has a chart for the court cards as well. So definitely worth getting. Now, that was written in 1990, those 2 books, and then this one came out later, all in one book. And I actually find this a bit more, I found this more useful in the way that it's easier access, it's more accessible. The other 2 volumes are great if you really want in-depth reading about each of the cards. But when you are sort of working with the deck, and especially getting to know the deck, it's good to have it all in one compact book. And this one was written in 1999, which was 9 years after the first 2 volumes. This one is published by U.S.Games, who also published the deck. This is Haindl Tarot, a Reader's Handbook. And this is the Hierophant. Pretty sure this is the Hierophant on the cover, because there's the key here, the key to the mysteries. So I'm fairly sure that is the Hierophant. Just double check it, but I'm pretty sure it is. So it looks like it is the Hierophant. Yes, that's the Hierophant card. This has got the spreads in here. It's got at least 4 spreads in the back of the book, and this is all of the cards are in here. Haindl Tarot, a Reader's Handbook by Rachel Pollack. So this is still available as well. And of course, definitely worth getting if you want to work with the Haindl Tarot. Now, after all of that, what has happened since then is it kind of went to this. It was first of all the 2 separate volumes, then it went to all in one. And this is a different book to the other 2 volumes. It's not an amalgamation because it's not thick enough, but it is great, almost a summarized version if you want to compare it to the in-depth writing of the 2 separate volumes. But I really like this because it's more concise. So first of all, there was the 2 separate volumes, then all in one in the handbook. Now, since then, it has gone back. Now the books are available again in the 2 separate volumes. So if you want to get, the separate volume 1 for the Major Arcana and the separate volume 2, they would be easier to get now because they are now back into 2 separate volumes again. But if you wanted to get the Haindl Tarot Handbook all in one, you should still be able to get that second hand. But otherwise, there's 2 Now, with the two separate volumes that have been released in recent years, I haven't had a good look at those because I don't need to because I've got these books, but I assume that they are a reprint pretty much of this volume 1 and volume 2, the original two separate volumes. They may be updated editions, so you don't have to quote me on that. I don't think it really matters because anything written by Rachel Pollack is going to be well and truly worth getting anyway. But I just wanted to let you know that the books that may be easier to get now are the two separate volumes that have been recently published for the deck. So I hope you enjoyed seeing and hearing about the Haindl Tarot. It's a unique deck because it is great for in-depth psychology work, and I think it is the right type of deck, a very appropriate deck for the times that we are in now, where the human psyche is very much being affected by the situation that society and the world is now experiencing. So I'll put the details below the video about the deck and the books. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.